Okay, how we doing? Today is Monday, February 5th, 2018. Rich Van Tassel with you. And it's Monday, so we're giving you our weekly NBA report. Of course, everything that has to do with the Super Bowl is what's big in the news right now. But we do the weekly NBA reports every Monday, so here we go. I didn't talk about the Blake Griffen trade during the week. To me, it doesn't really move the needle that much. We'll get into that when we get to the Detroit Pistons. We're starting in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics had sputtered a bit since coming back from the London trip not too long ago. What was that? About 2 weeks ago they came back. I don't know exactly what the day was. They had some time off as well. Lost their first four straight. They were 34-10 when they left. They're up to 39-15 now. So they are 5-5 since then. They've now won four straight. Got a nice win last night. Celtics are playing without a lot of guys. Kyrie Irving did not go again. They were down big and then had to come back. That's something that would be an area of concern for me. Obviously, injuries in general are a concern. But just the fact that the Celtics, if you're trying to, obviously win a championship as they are, you want to have your full complement of players on the court and playing well as you go into the playoffs. So, you can be deep and you can keep to win in the regular season, keep your wins up. But then in the playoffs, if you don't have that continuity, that could be a problem. But we're still ways off from the playoffs. Toronto at 36-16, they have won 7 of their last 10. Still keeping pace right along with the Boston Celtics. Again, it's been, of course, DeMar DeRozan putting in his usual good numbers. Kyle Lowry has not been spectacular. I really liked what Serge Ibaka has brought to that team. Kyle Lowry only at 16.5 points. Again, though, it's going to be Valanciunas, Norman Powell, that is. I keep calling him Nolan. He's only giving you 6.5 points. That's a guy I thought was stepping up and coming along and could be a guy, at least off the bench, who would give you some points. He's not really developed into that. Ibaka's giving you about 13. He gives you what you have to have on the defensive side of the ball. But in the end, unless they make a deal for a guy, they are going to really relying heavily on DeMar DeRozan to carry this team. But they're playing well as a team. I'd like to see if a guy like Norman Powell could step up, or if Valanciunas can finally become more than just that guy who's going to give you 12 and 10 tonight. Cleveland got hammered on Saturday night by 32, I believe it was, 120-88. Might have been one. It could have even been 130-88. I don't know. I watched some of it, but Cleveland just did not look good. They do not look good in general. Look, you're 51 games in. You got 30 left. Yes, can you turn around and figure things out? Of course, but they have just shown no continuity. They're not showing anything at this point. So it's a situation where, is it going to happen or not at this point? Are they going to make some moves? I don't know what's going to happen with the Cleveland Cavaliers, because there's 30 games left and they just don't look like they may have shown something that makes it look like, okay, here it is, and then all things just fall apart. The Washington Wizards 30-22. They have won 4 straight. They are pushing the Cavaliers only a half game back. Probably won't be able to get to that 2 seed. I'd like to. Washington, I feel, has to be a 50-win team. They'd have to go 20-10 the rest of the way, and they don't have to be it for any other reason. That I just think it's important for this team to continue to show that they're on the up and up and winning 50. Milwaukee Bucks, since firing Jason Kidd, they are now 29-23. They are coming along nicely. They beat the Nets last night. The Nets are sputtering just a bit. This is a team now that, look, they have their new coach in place. They got rid of Jason Kidd, so there's no excuses or anything of that matter. There's nothing that you can look at and say, oh, well, it was just Jason Kidd before, you point it off on that or whatever it is. This is a team that now under Joe Prutning, who's their head coach, for those of you who are still wondering, by the way, I didn't do a video on that. He's the guy who stepped up. He's the guy in the role. Chris Middleton giving you over 20 points. Now, you look at the difference between this team and a team like the Toronto Raptors. Why are the Raptors still winning games and the Bucks are not, based on numbers? Well, it's because the Raptors have more experience. But Antetokounmpo giving you 28 points, eight or excuse me, 10 rebounds and 4 assists. Actually, almost 10.5 rebounds and almost 5 assists. And then you have Chris Middleton giving you 20 points. Eric Bledsoe has scored well, giving you 16.9. Malcolm Brogdon has continued to impress, 13.3, but only giving you 3.2. Now you have Jabari Parker, who's only played 2 games. He's up to about 11 and 5. But you have much more balanced scoring on this team. Even with Antetokounmpo putting up huge numbers. So it's why is Milwaukee, a team that's struggling but starting to find their way with the new coach under Joe Prutney, and Toronto is a team that really only has 2 scorers doing it, and Milwaukee's much more balanced. Well, experience has a lot to do with it, but there's some things that maybe the team just wasn't playing well under Jason Kidd. Indiana, 30 and 24. They continue to stay right there. Look, this is probably going to be about a 45-win team at the end of the year. They've shown no inclination they're going to start to fall off. But you do look at a team like the Miami Heat, who's now 29 and 24. They've lost 3 straight and gone 4 and 6. Now they had a huge run in there, so anything could really happen to Indiana. Miami was not really as consistent as the Pacers were, but it looks like Indiana is going to be right there at about 45 wins at the end of the year. Now, Philadelphia 76ers 25 and 25. Of course, the city of Philadelphia is going to turn their attentions to them. Very interesting with this team. Can they finally start to maybe make a run at it here, put some wins together, string some things along? Embiid still putting up huge numbers, has only played in 40 games, but 23.6, 11 rebounds per game. Almost 2 blocks. J.J. Redick is still your second leading scorer, though. Ben Simmons giving you 16.7. Dario Saric has been a guy who's really flown under the radar since they brought him in. He's giving you over 14 points. So you're getting the balanced scoring as well, but really, Markelle Fultz has done just about nothing this year. Amir Johnson, a guy they brought in to be more of a veteran, is not doing much of anything. So a lot of it has to do with Markelle Fultz, why they're still around 25 and 25, but improved. But again, this is a team that's now finally trying to win. So how much better can you really judge that they are? Could they not have been 25 and 25 these last couple years through 50 games if they were trying to win? Now, Detroit, who we'll talk about now, they are 25 and 26. They have now won 3 straight. It's been that Jekyll and Hyde act with the Detroit Pistons all season long. They beat the Miami Heat the other night. And, of course, they brought in Blake Griffen. As far as that trade goes, it brings some star power to the Detroit Pistons. They still need, I feel they need another go-to scorer who can get the points that are needed. I don't think it's Tobias Harris, who's that perimeter scorer. Tobias Harris does put up points. I think he's more of just the somebody guy. They got rid of Avery Bradley in the process, so I don't necessarily know what that's going to bring. Reggie Jackson is still a good point guard. He can start to get that team to play well. But look, you're essentially turning this team into what the Los Angeles Clippers were. You have a center who basically relies on dunks and can rebound the ball very well and play good defense in Andre Drummond. Then you have the high flyer in Blake Griffen to go with him, but Blake Griffen is not as young as he used to be. Let's see how he can develop his post game and get the go-to buckets, and then a decent point guard in Reggie Jackson. So, look, if they can start playing well, if they can get some consistency and stop being all over the map as they've been, maybe they can start to push it. They're only a half game out of the playoffs. If not, then I don't know what will happen to Blake Griffen moving forward. He's under a big contract. Of course, Detroit tries to get some star power to move things along. Charlotte, all of a sudden, is 23 and 29. Just when you thought they were dead, they're still 3 games out. I've said with Kemba Walker, there's too much talent on this, or he's too good of a player for this team to maybe not be a playoff team. They might still be right where they were, but they've just been up and down all year. They've had a ton of losses early on in the year. Now they're trying to turn it around at this point. So that's a situation that I look at as far as, look, you have Kemba Walker. He's too good of a player for the team to be, winning 3, then losing 4, then winning 1, and then losing 3, and those sorts of things, and, taking the roundabout way to 500. Putting up 22.7. Look, Dwight Howard, I'll say it many times, still gives you numbers. Just at about 16 points, almost 13 rebounds, and almost 2 blocks per game. Do you need to maybe limit what Dwight Howard does on the offensive side of the ball, take the touches out because he's just not good with the analytics, and could be that's what's holding this team back, maybe. But still, what he gives you on the defensive side of the ball, the guy is an asset, and I'll continue to remain with that. The Knicks had a tough loss to the Atlanta Hawks last night. They're 23-31. They're fading fast, 4 games out. Brooklyn 19-35, 3-7 in their last 10. Again, it's can Brooklyn get to 30 wins? They'd have to go 11-17 the rest of the way, so I'd like to keep an eye on that, but still certainly making the climb. They're going to eclipse last year's win total and continue to improve in that regard. Atlanta 16-37, or Chicago 18-34. They've lost 6 straight. Atlanta 16-37, and the Orlando Magic. If this was any other team outside of the Orlando area that was actually getting some sort of publicity, the Magic would be looked at with a very, very dire eye. You would look at them and be like, what the hell is going on there? Because they have traded Dwight Howard, and just nothing has gone right since then. They have not built at all over the last 6 years, and they continue to just digress. In the Western Conference, Golden State, I would have done a video on it had we not had the Super Bowl. They're 41-12, plus 7.8 in their differential. They lost the other night, but they're still 7-3 in their last 10. Look, Steve Kerr's talking about them being tired. I really don't want to hear it. I'm tired of these NBA players whining all the time. You get paid a lot. Man, I'm tired right now, and I'm still going to go to work after this video. So, I can't deal with that anymore. They're dying for the All-Star break. The NBA has just made massive amounts of concessions to these guys for their scheduling and all that stuff, and they still find a way to complain about things. So I don't know. I don't want to hear it. Obviously, they're still the team to beat. I don't see really how they're going to lose at any point. They're just too talented in that regard. But it's just, I wanted to make note of that. But of course, 41-12, they have the 2-game lead over the Houston Rockets. The Rockets were the team that bludgeoned the Cavaliers on Saturday night. Still going good. Looks like they figured it out. Chris Paul has now played 30 games. Eric Gordon giving you the points off the bench. Now, look, a lot of these points are just going to come because of D'Antoni's system. Harden, by the way, over 30 points. He had that 60-point triple-double. Over 31 points, 9 assists, and 5 rebounds per game. Chris Paul still putting up very good numbers. His assists are a little lower than his career, but you have James Harden also giving you 9.1. Look, Eric Gordon will put up points in D'Antoni's system. Clint Capella is very critical to that team, not just as a screen guy. He can do things. He's very athletic, and I think he's probably their best defender. Clearly, he's their best inside defender, and I think he can anchor that defense, even though D'Antoni doesn't like to play. Gerald Green, who's been a nice addition. The question for me with those guys is, who will they be able to get points, because it's much more of a wide open thing and a wide open system. Will all those guys be getting the points in the playoffs when those things slow down, because they need them to be able to advance? San Antonio 34-21, they've lost 2 straight. Minnesota right there at 34-22. Minnesota has not just been a flash in the pan. Look, we were expecting big things from them this year. They may be a little bit ahead of schedule, but it's not like they've gone anywhere at this point. They've been consistently playing very good basketball all season long at 34-22. They beat the Pelicans the other night. That's their 12th straight home win, so give them credit for that. Jimmy Butler has really made a difference with this team. Jimmy Butler obviously showing how good of a player he is. There are guys who can put up numbers in the NBA, then there are guys who can impact wins. This is a team that didn't make the playoffs for 13 straight years, 13 or 14, since 04, before he got there, and this is a team that's probably going to win maybe 55 games, probably not quite, but 52, 53 wins, and been playing consistent basketball. And of course, Karl Anthony Towns has dropped under the 20-point plateau, and Andrew Wiggins continue to come along. Their points have dropped, but you add Jimmy Butler to the mix, and that is something that's going to happen because he's got to get his points. Then you have the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've now lost 4 straight. They were 30-20. They had a bad loss to the Lakers on national television. So, again, just when you think Oklahoma City's got it all together, there they go and lose 4 straight and have a bad loss to a team like the Los Angeles Lakers, lost to the Pelicans without DeMarcus Cousins, lost to the Denver Nuggets, and lost to the Washington Wizards. Those are 4 pretty bad losses. And remember, Oklahoma City, when they really started to turn around, they got fat on a lot of bad teams. Portland there at 29 and 24. I don't know what you're ever going to really get from the Portland Trailblazers. Look, Damian Lillard can win you 1 game. He might be able to win you 2 games in a series. I don't see this team ever being much more, though, than a second-round exit, probably going to 5, possibly 6. Lillard, 25.2. McCollum, 21.9, so you're still getting your points there. Then it's Nurkic, the center, giving you 14.3, but after that, the scoring is just not there. Evan Turner, I felt, was going to be a nice addition to the team, and it's simply just not coming along. After Portland at 29 and 24, they're the New Orleans Pelicans at 28 and 24, trying to keep it together without DeMarcus Cousins. Denver 28 and 25. Denver is really starting to play well. They have been trying to rebuild and start to climb up the ladder. They're doing so thus far. They had won a few games in a row. They had won 3 straight, then lost 2, but then won 2 after that. Again, it's just a building process. You're looking at Denver, to me, is sort of like the Utah Jazz were a few years ago when they were building up and moving along and getting it together. You want to do it on a more expedited schedule, I guess, so to speak, because you saw what happened with the Utah Jazz. They started to lose guys like Gordon Hayward and all they were building for, and then it's just gone once the other guy leaves. So, hey, they're there, and we'll keep an eye on it. The Clippers 26 and 25, of course, they traded Blake Griffen. I'd like to see what Avery Bradley can bring to the situation as far as the defense, but the way the Nuggets are playing, I don't know if the Clippers can keep pace. Utah then 24 and 28. They've won 5 straight. The Lakers now starting to show some life. They're 21 and 31, winners of 2 straight. Memphis 18 and 34. They're done for. They've lost 3 straight. It's not happening for the Memphis Grizzlies, that veteran team. Even they can't turn it around at this point. Phoenix 18 and 36. Dallas 17 and 36. And Sacramento, as we just discussed with the Orlando Magic, able to hide in a small market their futility at 16 and 36. All right, power rankings. You got to keep the Golden State Warriors number 1 at 41 and 12. Houston number 2 at 38 and 13. They've won 4 straight, as have the Celtics at number 3. Toronto number 4, 36 and 16, and the Minnesota Timberwolves we will give number 5. All right, remember, we appreciate all subscriptions, folks. Come next Saturday, we will give you an NBA in-depth, probably a player focus as we move past the NFL season. It's all done now. We got to go with the NBA from this point forward. I'll see what I'll do with the Olympics, maybe some updates. I'm not as up to it on the Winter Olympics as I am with the summer one, but whatever comes across, be sure to check it out. And, of course, as we just said, we appreciate all subscriptions. Have a good one and enjoy your week. We'll see you next time.